elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly, yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they wanna come take my place? I work too hard for it, don't need a replacement. This my vocation, now I got rollies all in rotation. Hop on a jet just to take a vacation. Remember the moments was trapped in the basement. Now the hard work is all taking me places. Squatting all black like we trapped in the matrix. Bet on myself and go ball out in Vegas. Living a life like I'm rich and I'm famous. Don't see the grind that I know that it came with. I ain't make it this far for myself, yeah. I had to prove to everybody else, I had to set them straight, yeah. I had to ball, so I had to renovate, I know. They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate.
Salute, 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 salute. Good morning, good morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope my sound is coming in clear. As I told you guys before, I'm setting up a whole new set. So, that's taking a little bit of time, but I didn't want to I was actually thinking about resetting some of this stuff so I could just do the show, but you got to kind of balance it out right. So I hope my sound is coming in clear, that you guys are hearing me. Hope everybody's doing well today. God is good. You know what I mean? God is great. And I hope, you know what I'm saying? I hope he's proving it on a daily basis with you guys. Things to speak about today, of course. Boxing continues to move on. Yesterday, we had a real great show. Talked about, obviously, the events that happened over the weekend, from Friday's Fatal Fury to Saturday's Fatal Fury, into the Top Rank event on Sunday. Top Rank event, obviously, saving the weekend. We talked about all those things. Moving on, we are going into a new weekend of fights. We have Manuel Navaratte has a card that's going to kick off. Raymond Muratalla will be fighting for a vacant IBF title as well. We'll talk about that fight. Also, Shakur Stevenson in the notes. Out and about now. It's beginning to promote this fight that's going to be popping off in July. Stevenson will be finally fighting a fighter. He'll have a competitor in a Williams Zepeda. We'll finally see Stevenson in one of those fights that we've been wanting to see him in. We'll talk about that, right? Hands, making sure the hands are on point. Seems like he's confident and has figured out how to get in front of the hands, the issue he's having with his hands. He does an interview, speaks on Gervonta Tank Davis, speaks on Turki Alalshikh. We'll talk about all that, obviously, as well. Also, rumblings in the street right now about Tank Davis and Lamont Roach 2, trying to figure out a date for these guys to kick off. Rumors of a stacked undercard potentially being put together, but as usual, nothing concrete to hold on to. But rumors in the street, the content creations streets, are trying to connect Tank Davis's fight with Lamont Roach to Turki Alalshikh's ambitions on entering the boxing space and dominating the boxing space, the American boxing space. And it's Turki putting out a conflict of interest, booking venues, double booking venues, getting in the way, maybe purposely trying to get in the way of Tank Davis's situation. Well, I'll be upfront to say, no, I don't think that's what it is at all. But I think it is interesting as to how the rumors are kicking up. And we'll talk a little bit about maybe what's behind these rumors and what's the purpose behind it. We'll talk about that as well. And, we'll find other things to talk about as well. And towards the end, obviously, opening up the platform, the panel, to invite some of the usual suspects to come here and share some perspective on what's going on, and move on from there, right? Hope everybody's well. I see a couple people starting to stack in here. I always tell you guys, I know it's that time of the day, prime time, good boxing content across the space. But I hope we start to grow, and I appreciate you guys being here with us. You could be anywhere right now, right? And you're here with us, so we rock out with you guys the long way and appreciate you guys, right? Salute to everybody in the building, man. Salute. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Co-host Ray Davis in the building, ready to build on some boxing. How you doing, Ray?
Chilling, man. Listen, man, smash that like button as you're into the building, man. Look at these likes up. Just want to say I'm doing good, Clay. Can't complain. Yeah. Great intro. Yeah, some great rumors and weird stuff going on in the business of boxing, but that's what it always is.
Not even in the business, right? It's not even in the business. It's outside the business, but yeah, what you said pretty much for the most part, right?
It's always something, right? Always something for somebody to complain about or accept when it's okay to accept. It's like either or. You never win.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's interesting, what I'm saying, the way these rumors start going, and I think it's interesting when some of these content creation spaces hyper focus on speaking on a handful of topics exclusively, right? When you've committed to speaking on a certain fighter or promotional company specifically, and that fighter or promotional company is not providing you enough content, you know what I'm saying? They're not giving you enough. You start to run out of ways to create hours of content to entertain, right? To entertain the people who are patronizing your channel. And after a while, you start to reach, and it becomes a little bit make-believe, right? After a while, it becomes a little delusional where you start adding the salt, the pepper, and you start, before you know it, the chicken don't even taste like chicken no more. It tastes like something else, right?
Correct.
No doubt. Oh, Devontre Bone says he's here to give you your props. You called that Rolly fight a win outside the boxing thinking win. Props to you, brother.
Devontre. Well, thank you, Devontre. You know what I mean? Just let you know, our boy Chu said got to shave his eyebrow, bro. Yeah, I ain't forget. But no seriousness. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. But yeah, Clay, it is, man. But we got to remember what the space is about. That's why I closed out with yesterday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it ain't the Rodney King speech. We ain't all got to get along, but just respect each other, man. Like, you know what I mean? Throwing people's names in dirt, saying people getting paid. You know what I mean? In this room or that room, because you're not getting to rub elbows with people or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I'm just letting you know. You see where I'm at? Because if I was getting paid, Clay, I'm telling you, bro, this would be a studio, bro. Like we be live. We be like ESPN. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
We be behind the desk talking like Cam and Mace. I'll be honest with you, we was getting paid like that. But people hate. They love to hate. You know what I mean? Like
it is what it is. But like I said, you know what I mean? We'll talk about it though. But I did hear some interesting. A bird came by and told me, and I thought I'd speak on it. Why not? You know what I mean?
Oh man, you must have just got the news. I got the news a couple times.
Well, no, it's not about. I don't think it's what you think it's about. It's not about. Okay. It's not personal. It's not about this channel. It's not about nothing going on like that.
Oh, okay, good. Because I almost went Vegeta on somebody, bro.
Yeah, I don't pay attention. I'm not tapped into that algorithm. So
no, absolutely not. I had to keep my Claymore Rain hat on, bro, so I can Musa just.
Yeah, I don't even.
You know what I mean?
Going on.
Drive this way, Clay. Drive this way. I had to do that. You know what I mean?
Right. But no, this more so about Tank Davis and Lamont Roach. You know what I'm saying? And people trying to figure out why they haven't heard about this date dropping yet, being that the original date I think was supposed to be in June, right? June or July.
Yeah, June. It got pushed to November.
It got pushed. Well, no, I'm hearing people telling me that they're trying to put something together in August. That the PBC's locked something down for August or mid-August, but they haven't given the fight yet, right? But there's rumors about Jamel Charlo and Keith Thurman potentially fighting on the undercard of maybe a Tank Davis or maybe headlining their own card, whether it's going to be free or pay-per-view. You know, outside of David Benavidez, the PBC this year looks like they've been refraining a little bit from the pay-per-views unless it's worthwhile, which I think is a move in the right direction. It doesn't make any sense to just make everything a pay-per-view. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So I you know, I actually respect and appreciate the fact that they're working on putting out more, showcase more talent and not making it cost everybody, you know, $60 to $90, $50 to $90 or $100 to see to see the fighters fight. But ultimately the space is trying to wrap their mind around what's really holding up the announcement, at least, of the Lamont Roach Tank Davis fight, the second fight that everybody's been anticipating. And you know, people rumor being maybe August, maybe pushed out, like you said. I guess you're hearing rumors about potentially November. Nothing concrete, right? So we don't know what it is. So I think the space is getting a little desperation. They're getting a little desperate. They're feeling like by now we should hear some sort of announcement, some sort of talk, something moving in that direction. So what starts to happen as Turkey becomes more busy? You know, Turkey is kicking off that whole entire TKO situation, right? Soon they should be probably kicking it off towards the end, you know, probably towards the end of the third quarter of this year. Maybe TKO might kick something off. Rumor also has it that Dana White is going to be involved with promoting this Terrence Crawford-Canelo Alvarez fight in September as well. That may be partially a TKO situation. And you know, they're looking at venues. And now that and what to me sounds like now that people are being made aware that Turkey, TKO, Dana White, Nick Khan, all those guys are legitimately looking at venues, that now, you know, there's this conflict of interest that's being done on purpose to where they're trying to block.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Right. So I think that's interesting, right? I think that's interesting. But I do think it's like there's a little bit of thirst. There's a little bit of thirst. You know what I mean? A little bit of hunger, a little bit of I think when you start hearing those rumblings, to me, it signifies the uncertainty starting to surface as anxiety, as paranoia, right? Because the one thing that these content creators that are focused on this conversation exclusively, one thing you'll never see them do is hold the PBC accountable or hold Tank accountable, right? They never seem to. Let me see if that's me or you. Hold on. Yeah, it was definitely you. You got an echo going on.
Yeah, because you sound a little low. I turned my speaker up. I'll turn it back down. Go ahead.
I sound low right now?
Yeah.
It's just, you know what? I got to hook up my mic. I'm going to do that next time.
Okay. No, I can hear you. I just wanted to make sure. My bad. I'll keep it down.
No, it's because I'm talking directly into my computer because, I'm building the new set and everything like that. So all my equipment's kind of put away and I didn't want to, it is what it is. But back to what I was saying, to say that one thing about these content creation spaces is when it comes time to answer those questions, when they become uncertain and they start wondering and they start feeling like they should be getting more. That where's the information? Where's the announcement? Where's the when are we gonna when are you the PBC or Tank Davis or whatever fighter they're looking to see fight? When are you gonna communicate to us what we need to so that we can create the content that we've committed to creating, right? Because we don't talk about boxing across the board. We talk about you and what you got going on. So a lot of our content is based on how your movement is going on. And if you're not showing us any movement, if you're not giving us any information, then now we start to our mind starts to run and we have to start wondering why we're not hearing the information. And one thing you won't hear those creators do is be like, yo, what's going on? And ask more questions and hold the people accountable who are the stewards of that information that they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the person who has the answer to that question, very rarely are you coming at them about it. Now you start to look outside the box, because one thing you don't want to do when you've committed to staying on protocol, right? When you committed to staying on code, which is staying behind your promotional company and your fighter and never throwing any shade as to what's going on, is you don't question them. Now you start to point outwards, right? Now you start to look at what Turkey's doing. If he's progressing, then what is the cost of that progress? Well, if you're cunning enough, if you're witty enough, the cost of the price of Turki Alalshikh's progress is your lack of progress, right? So,
Right.
so as Turki becomes more active in the American space, in the boxing space, as he becomes more, he just did this Fatal Fury this weekend with one in Vegas, one in one in Saudi Arabia, one in New York City. Now he's planning the next one with Shakur Stevenson, Edgar Berlanga, and them. That's supposedly going to be in Central Park, but somewhere in New York, it's already been announced. So he's being more active. You, as a fan of your promotional company, wants to be able to compete and you want to pin your promotional company against Turki, which we always repeat on this channel. There is no competition between the PBC. Well, no unhealthy competition going on between the PBC and Turki. In fact, they're working together consistently.
John
right?
Brown said it.
They're always working together, right? But the fan base needs this palatable tension to be there, so the content creator becomes the ultimate creator, because it's no longer creating based off of facts anymore. It's just about creating. So anything is possible. We can push delusional narratives. We can do all this. We can have side access to people who are speaking to us who we can't reveal to you. We can start speaking to that, and it doesn't matter, because ultimately at the end of the day, if it doesn't come true, well, it was, it's always this gray area.
Oh, subjective to change, right?
Right. Now the content creators are living inside of this gray area, right? They're living inside this gray area because their fighter and their promotional company isn't giving them enough content to speak on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wonder if they got like a little round table or conference table that they just go around and they just like, look, this is what we need to do. We ain't really talking about boxing. We just like talking about mysteries and things that could happen and how we put things in a bad situation. Let's just all come up with a great rendition of the Beatles. Even though it ain't the Beatles, let's just put it out there and say it's the Beatles. And as we say it, when they say they know it's not the Beatles, we just say it's the Jackson 5. And when they figure that out, we'll just say it's somebody else, like the Commodores, or maybe we'll say it's Motley Crue, and then they'll buy it. And every time we move the needle, they'll just keep going, and we just keep giving them that information. As long as we bring it back to why we doing it, because it's the rock star that's doing it, us. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, there's a gray area that they're living in, and I'm speaking on it because I caught it. Somebody reached out to me and asked me, about the legitimacy of the information, right? Yo, you hearing about this? You know what I'm saying? Is this, I'm hearing this, that, you're hearing about it. So I did some research and some due diligence. I couldn't find anything that connected the dots to make this make sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
I got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute you while you figure it out. I
got it.
Nah, it's still there. It's still echoing.
Shouldn't be.
Like when I mute you, there's no echo.
Is it echoing now?
Yes. Yeah, it sounds like you're in a tank, like a tank, like you got water around you in a fish tank.
Yeah, I got. Let me see. Hold on. How about now?
Yeah, I hear it.
You and these fancy microphones. All right. How about now?
Yeah.
Hold on. How about now?
Yeah.
All right. Hold on a second. I think I know what it is. Hold on.
Sorry, guys. But yeah, they live in this gray area, right? And it's funny to me, but at the same time, it can get a little deeper for me, right? Because I was talking to Blue Blood yesterday, right? Shout out to my brother Blue Blood, and I was telling him that, when it comes to the American boxing space, the leaders of the space, for a long time, who have been in the driver's seat, the content creators who have been in the driver's seat of the energy of American boxing has not been people like me and Blue, right? Because people like me and Blue who speak on, the what's going on with the PBC, ever since the PBC's had situation with Showtime and separated, we've always been willing to speak on the topic in an honest way. That's how I look at it. I know some people look at it as if we're attacking, but we've just been willing to have open and unbiased conversations about what's next for the PBC. How does it look now that they're separating from Showtime? How does this new deal with Amazon Prime look? Will they be able to deliver the same quality content and the same amount of content and showcase talent like they used to do with Showtime? We ask questions, and as things are developing, and maybe the PBC only, like last year, only did 5 events. We'll ask those questions and we'll speak on, hey man, what do you think that is stemming from? They spoke about 12 to 14 events. They only had 5 events. Good, bad thing? Is Amazon Prime all the way in? Is it, what's going on? And I think even with the Steven Espinosas, when they come out at events, content creators across the space ask them those questions, because it's on the mind of boxing fans to understand, when will the real full-fledged return of the PBC be, to where we can get scheduled events and things of that nature. And even this year, celebrating the PBC for providing more free events and showcasing David Benavidez and having a great beginning and grand opening kickoff of the year, and putting on events, and Lamont Roach and Tank Davis fight turning the way it is, and looking forward towards a rematch. And having these conversations starts to, people who don't like these conversations showing up in the way they do, they have a code where if you don't have nothing nice to say or nothing that's going to push this company further, then don't speak on it at all, because if you're speaking on it, you're not helping the company. So therefore you're hating on the company. And me and Blue, and I'll speak for me, but I think Blue would co-sign that we're not here for any promotional company. We're here for boxing, right? We're not here to push a promotional company or anything like that. We're here for boxing. So now that the PBC has kind of like slowly been getting on their feet, doing their thing, moving forward, and we're here for it. I'm loving the card they got coming up at the end of the month with Caleb Plant and with Jamal Charlo fighting against Cornflake Lamata, and whatever fights come up on that undercard. Obviously looking forward to hearing the announcement of Tank Lamont Roach 2, when that's going to be, but still speaking on it in a very honest way. We get painted in a negative way. You know what I mean? Talk. Let me see. No, you're mute now. I don't hear nothing from you. Nothing. Nothing. Right. So that comes up, and now you're hearing, sorry guys for the technical difficulties while we're kind of helping. No, we don't hear anything. I don't hear nothing. But yeah, so now the new rumor is Turki Alalshikh is blocking Gervonta Tank Davis exclusively, and he wants to work with him, and I don't know. From my point of view, it does sound preposterous. It sounds very far, it sounds like a reach, to say the least. I mean, just from my perspective, I found nothing to co-sign none of these baseless allegations. I'm going to call them baseless, factless. Nobody's providing any type of receipts that connect the dots this way. Turki Alalshikh is officially in the boxing game. Rumors since last year has been that he won't even be in America long. He won't be in the game long. And I just think his presence being here, and not only being here, but doubling down by putting on shows, and specifically in America, and signing American boxing ambassadors like Shushu and Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn Davis, and working with Shakur and working with Terrence Crawford, and just consistently doubling down and moving in the space in a way that shows no signs of him regressing or pulling back away from the space, but actually doubling down and digging his feet deeper into the sand of the space. building foundation now, concrete foundation, you know, working with Dana White and working with Nick Khan and making these deals and actually now investing in the American boxing space with the WBC Grand Prix and doubling into the space and trying to help not only make the biggest fights as far as the stars are concerned, but also now investing in developing new talent. I think it builds a little bit of anxiety and uncertainty as far as their fighter being the PBC. And I say that exclusively because I don't think their fighter is Gervonta Tank Davis. I don't think that's their fighter. I think their fighter is the PBC, right? The PBC is their fighter, and they want their fighter to be in there against Turki, who they look at as a fighter. And they've made the promotional companies the competitive thing. It's no longer about the fighters fighting each other so much as it is the promotional companies are now like the fighters, right? And this is elevated to another space. And I'm being honest with you guys. I'll speak frankly and say that this is what has been the lead reason for the destruction of the American boxing space as we see it today, right? Is the lack of investment into the American boxer, the development of the American fighter, the competitive nature of the sport being preserved so that the sport can live long here and be strong here, being that this has always been, as of lately, it's been based off of a promotional company's success and their ability to hold a stranglehold on boxing, even if it's at the cost of the sport declining, has been the reason as to why the sport is the way it is. This is why you will have a Devin Haney and a Ryan Garcia and you know you'll Tank Davis. You know, you'll have these fighters who have now become very self-conscious and so scared of taking a loss that we don't, or their promotional companies, you know what I mean, so scared of seeing their fighters take a loss that you have this cherry-picking energy and fighters who aren't developing and becoming as dangerous and as dominant as they once were in past years. And you look at a space like in Europe, in the UK, where Conor Benn and Chris Eubank will have a fight and pack a stadium out with, you know, 65,000 people, or Anthony Joshua and a Daniel Dubois will pack out a Wembley Stadium with 90,000 plus fans, and people are, you're watching boxing grow out there. You're watching the pugilists become more interested in the boxing space, and there's no wars going on between the Queensberry fans and the Matchroom fans, or the Gold Star fans and the Matchroom fans. You don't see that happening over there. They're more interested in the actual product, which is the fights happening in the ring being as quality as possible. And over here, we've got something else going on, right? So you'll see Devin Haney get in the ring and literally fight one of the worst fights you guys probably have seen in the longest time. And or you'll see, you know, Ryan Garcia not committed to the sport, more committed to the antics and the social media presence, more committed to all the outside nonsense that seems to get in the way, and we fall short when it comes to that manifesting into high level competitive boxing in the ring. And you've got a couple of American boxers like David Benavidez, you know what I mean, who will push and run and chase down the best competition and make that happen. And he's having a resurgence. And now we have to bet on the next generation of fighters to really capture that, right? We have to bet on Abdullah Mason's competitive nature and wanting to fight the best, even the Floyd Schofield Jr.'s and the Keyshawn Davises and, you know, the Emiliano Vargas's. The future of the sport is in these guys' hand, but presently where we are in the space, we're dealing with a very lackluster American boxing space. And the people who are leading the march on this nonsense are the people who refuse to cover the sport on the broad spectrum. You know what I mean? The people who lack enough vision to speak on the whole sport, who are not talking about Raymond Ford, who are not talking about Emiliano Vargas, who aren't talking about what happened there.
I don't know. You froze up.
Here, you know what it is? I got a message from my internet company that there may be some interruptions. I'm crossing my finger, but it's supposed to be by 12 o'clock. I should be done. So I hope that's not what it is. I don't know. But am I coming in clear? Everybody can hear me?
Yeah, you sound better, though. Can you hear me clear? Am
I hear
echoing?
you. No echo.
Okay, yeah, my camera mic was on and it wouldn't switch to my Yeti.
Okay. So yeah, so I think that these people are the leaders. They've always been they're the leaders, you know what I mean? And you guys know who you are. I'm not going to say no names. It is what it is, but you know, you're catering to a fan base that doesn't know enough about boxing, and instead of educating them and making that your thing to educate them and expose them to a part of boxing that they don't know about, you're choosing to keep it in a comfort zone to where they can speak back, and you're more concerned about keeping them in your chats, and you're not speaking on boxing enough. So a story like this shouldn't even be able to get legs. There's so many things going on in boxing right now. There's so many things going on in boxing right now that you should be patient enough to wait for Tank and Roach and the PBC to make a formal announcement, right? You shouldn't have to consistently speak on something where clearly the information is not there, and now you're making up so much stuff. And worse than making up stuff and speculating in the direction of what it might be, now you're pointing fingers at a machine that's pushing boxing and building some sort of fake campaign that has fans actually thinking that boycotting boxing right now might be the best answer. You know what I'm saying? To the issue where I'm not going to watch these fights, or I'm not going to support this other place pushing it because the fans that you're speaking to look at it as their way of supporting the PBC. You understand what I'm saying? And now boxing is suffering in the space. It's suffering here in America in a way where, at what point, my question is always going to be, is the content creation in America going to jump on and just put your differences to the side, and we start supporting each other, and we start speaking about boxing in a marathon version and understand what the real assignment is? Does that make sense, Ray? I know I went on the ramp. I really wanted to articulate.
No, you good, man. No, absolutely. I understand 1,000% what you're saying. Like, I tapped into something the other night while I was at work. You know, I listen to some of the different content creators overnight, or I tap into channels during the day when I'm off. And I know exactly where you're coming from. That's why I only rock with certain people that only talk boxing. Because when I start hearing these narratives, Clay, you don't understand the urge to be like, yo, man, I really don't understand these people. Like, what do you get from this? And I ask myself that question: what do you get from this? What exactly? Greed, right?
It's really legitimately has nothing to do with boxing.
No,
boxing is just a victim. It's like the child who's suffering from the parents arguing. Like, boxing is the child. It's legitimately about super chats and making a living as a content creator, right, and doubling down into the drama, into the energy of the fans. It's not about the sport. And you know, and I'm gonna pass right back to just to say that, okay, but at the same time, at what point, if you truly are passionate about the sport, well, do you ever take an opportunity or a moment in time to audit the effectiveness of your style of delivering content and how it's benefiting the sport or hurting the sport? You ever think that and be like, you know what? Is this helping? Since I've been doing this, has boxing grown in America, or have we lost? What's actually happening? And try to get into whatever is going to push the sport, and understand that pushing the sport internationally helps American boxing because it gives them more fighters. Right now, Gary Antoine Russell, Brian Norman Jr., where are they going right now to make a bag and make some money and have their next fight?
That's my point. You know what I mean? It's like, think about it, Clay. Bigger and blacker was something very important. It was a very important message there for our people. You know what I mean? And we got these people constantly doing that because they're parading, they're playing the game for somebody else. They don't realize they're playing the game for. You're not hurting me. You're not hurting. I'm going to keep talking boxing. You know what I mean? What did Chris Rock say? Your favorite line, too. It was bigger and blacker, right? He goes, what? He goes, look, you have black people and you have niggas. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, we got these people that just want to be so close to the hood and to the street and be down for that team. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I support my people no matter where they come from. You know what I mean? All angles of life. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit there and just dedicate lies to people just to get them all riled up. So like we tell them, yo, go over there, bro. Yeah, you know what I mean? He ain't treating you right. Go rob that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. We're not here for that.
oh, we're gonna meet them at the fight, we're gonna squabble with them. Like, that's some of the energy you see. And ain't nothing about it.
I don't even think I think
well, I'm touching on a lot. This is just examples of me just saying, like, when it comes to the content, it's almost like a similar action. You know what I mean? I'm just using the narrative to describe, but it's like it's the action of me PBC only. It's like I'm in that gang. You know what I mean? Or I want to be. Matter of fact, it's not even in the gang. I want to be a part of that gang. I want to be on that team, and I want to be there so bad. I'm going to do everything in the power to go against everything else that's moving in this atmosphere, in this world of boxing, other than the PBC making the right choices. And then I'm only going to big up the PBC. Matter of fact, that whole card was whack. Only thing I got to say is the PBC fighter did his thing. He stopped the guy that wasn't supposed to be stopped. Like, he beat this guy. No, he didn't stop him. Oh, yeah, he didn't stop him, but, you know, and like just keep pushing narratives. Like, we constantly starting to see it. And, you know, he wasn't even about the money, blah, 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 blah. But then you got the dude from the PBC, Tom Brown himself, saying we work with Turki. We work with him. We've been working with him. I don't understand what y'all talking about. Oh, Turki trying to steal Tank. Like, why? He trying to steal the fight. He trying to steal the venue. He's trying to do, like, it's always something that Turki has to do. And why is Turki the victim? What did Turki do besides try to make better fights for you, the fan, and a content creator like ourselves to talk about? Gives us something to talk about instead of us saying, oh, man, he fighting another bum. Oh, man, yo, who is this? You know what I mean? Why we got to? But then he puts on a guy you don't know because he watches boxing globally. He puts a guy, yo, this guy look like he'll be a good fight for Raymond Ford. Let me get Nick Ball on the phone. And what happened? We got a good fight. You know what I mean? Oh, you know what? Jared Anderson, I think he's that guy, bro. I got my faith in Jared Anderson. Let me put him in the ring with a monster. Let's see if he can do what he got to do. He does that. But then we criticize him. Right. But then your fighters are fighting either washed up people, they're fighting people that are hanging on to a thread on their careers because they don't get enough activity, or they're going to other platforms for co-promotions. They're never one solid promotional fight. It's always a co-promoted fight. But then you sit there and say, look what we did. Look how PBC rocked. Like, bro, it's all boxing. I don't care who it is. You put on a show, I'm watching. I don't have ties to any promotional company. I don't have ties to any promoters. You know what I mean? Salute to all of them. Respect to all of them. I can go down the list, but I ain't got time. But the point is, Clay, a lot of these guys out here, they're dancing for paychecks. And you want to talk about what was it? The dude that did the chucking and jiving? Yeah. Look in the mirror when y'all say chucking and jiving, because that's exactly what y'all doing out there. Chucking and jiving for nothing, because nobody really cares over there. Tom Brown ain't sending y'all no check, right? But right. It is what it is.
I think that there's the people who are leading the march are the people who I focus more so on. I think the boxing fans are I think the space, the urban space, the urban space in boxing in America is a space very vulnerable to influence, of a following space, group code mentality, or like you kind of compared it to like gang culture a little bit. And I think they just looking for a leader, right? The space jumped into boxing. A large majority of this space jumped into boxing on the back of a Gervonta Tank Davis, a Errol Spence, right around that time period when those guys are coming out, and those guys affiliated themselves with a lot of rappers. Edgar Berlanga rides with Fat Joe. Errol Spence rode around with Yellow Beezy. Tank Davis, had close relationships with Lil Durk, and it crossed over, right? Like the drill rapper hip hop scene, the gangster rap scene, hip hop scene started to cross over with the boxing. The fans of that music found boxing to be like something appealing to them, and they were magnetized to a Gervonta Tank Davis, but they didn't come in with the passion of seeing a Roy Jones or seeing Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson or they could have had access to, right? Seeing a Bernard Hopkins, Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, Miguel Cotto, Canelo Alvarez, those fighters who made you love the sport. And when the great fights were happening back then, that energy, when you saw Felix Trinidad fight against Oscar De La Hoya, or when you saw Floyd Mayweather fight against Miguel Cotto, or Canelo fight against Floyd Mayweather, or when you saw Jermaine Taylor fight against Bernard Hopkins, or just all the different fights that the competitive fights that made boxing what it was. This is not where this generation of boxing fan came from. They came from loving to see Tank Davis knock people out. So they don't really have the foundational love for the sport like some of the older fans. Like I see Bruce Gas Boxing in the building, and the older fans, the Echoes, me, the people who are striving to see boxing go back into that space, or even a Turki Alalshikh who are striving to see it go back in that space. So now the content creators are the ones, being that boxing is not covered on ESPN as fluently as it used to be, or on First Take, or it's not as fluent as maybe it used to be back in the day. And Ring Magazine lost its actual the letter, the actual physical letter, so people weren't able to keep up with the sport like back in the day. And now it's changing, right? Turkey's taking the helm and said, I'm buying Ring Magazine. I'm going to put out the newsletter. I'm going to, there's going to be the physical newsletter as well as what's on social media, on the internet. But the content creators are the ones who kind of have the responsibility. We have the responsibility on our shoulders to speak about boxing, to introduce the casual fan base to a part of boxing that in the beginning they might not be interested in, right? They'll come into the channel and they'll hear us talking about Emmanuel Navaratte, right? Getting ready to fight, or Raymond Muratalla getting ready to fight, and they'll be like, I don't really care about those guys. I'll come back in when you guys are talking about Tank, or talking about Devin, or talking about something that I understand. I personally believe if the content creation space would come together more often and speak about boxing on a broad spectrum, you know what I'm saying? That we would start, the fans wouldn't have asylum, or they wouldn't be able to find refuge in these particular spaces that they know are going to only talk about what they want to hear about, or the fight that they want to hear about. And then people would maybe sit back and start listening to real boxing talk and become a fan of the sport in a broader spectrum. Watch the events, the fight lives would get better, the boxing space would become a better space in America, and things could change. But we're not working together because a handful of us are talking that way, or speaking about boxing all over the place, talking about 10, 15 different boxers inside of a 2-3 hour show. But most of us aren't doing that, right? Most of us are talking about one particular boxer, one particular section of boxing for 3 to 4 hours, collecting super chats. And what's happened is the boxing space on YouTube has become a part of people's diversification in people's portfolios, right? Of making money. Influencers, being content creators, being YouTube content creators are giving people ways out of their jobs and able to do this. But they're kind of conflicted because maybe they came into the sport, maybe they came into the content creation space with a real passion for the sport, but at the same time, they also have a responsibility to guard their bottom line, right? They need to, and they're conflicted. So they'll do boxing, but they'll look at the algorithm, and the algorithm will conflict with the love of the sport at the same time with the money that they can make from it. And now they start pushing and pushing and pushing. Before you know it, they're only talking about one thing because they found the niche. They found what gets them paid. They found what makes them the money. You know what I'm saying?
I watch so many people do that.
Right. So what's the price? The price is the sport gets hurt. Right? Devin Haney has no fans. Shakur Stevenson, you know what I'm saying? Like all these fighters that really should be like being moved forward aren't getting moved forward because if they're on the opposite side of a conversation for one particular fighter, they're getting tore down. And it's crazy. And when you look at what's happening right now, as far as right now with this new rumor going around connecting Turki Alalshikh's movements with literally going against Tank Davis having an event come out, this is when it becomes toxic. Unless it's truth, unless you could put out receipts to show that it's truth, it's toxic to the space. The reality is Tank Davis and his team aren't ready to making an announcement. The fact is that maybe they're building the undercard. Maybe they're negotiating venues and money and things of that nature. Whatever the regular thing goes on that goes behind building an event, that's more than likely it. It's not that interesting, right? That's all it is. The reality is, until they're ready to announce it, they're not going to announce it.
Exactly.
Right? Like, that's what it is. But instead, let's put this twist to it and be like, yo, I'm hearing what's going on is Turkey is blocking these dudes and doing these things on purpose. Who's telling you that? I got a person who I know.
Got a source
who's telling me this. Like, oh, come on, bro. And I think the worst thing about it is it rarely ever manifests into the things that y'all saying is going to manifest.
And you know what's bad too, Clay? And you're going to tell me something. It's sometimes they drop sources after they say they got a source, and they be like, yeah, shout out to my source here, shout out to my source. But then that source never gave them that information. Because I know some of the sources that they get their information from. And I know that source ain't giving them that information. And the crazy, and what's more important is, and all what you're saying is, you come to a channel and you see boxing. You come into that channel thinking, hey, we're going to talk about some fights. We're going to talk about, you know what, maybe they'll touch on my fighter. Maybe they'll do this, maybe do that. And you find yourself, and I've seen this happen multiple times, you find yourself competing in a combative argument with people because you like, I didn't come here for this, but this guy talking crazy, he got a link. Let me click this link. Okay, I'm going to click this link. Yo, this is crazy. What are y'all talking about? Why are you talking about this? That never happened. Who are you? Why are you telling me what I'm talking about is not true? What evidence do you have? You know
Bradley, I've been working with Blue now for going on about 6 months, a little over 6 months, give or take, right? Yo, that's my word. Take it for what it's worth. Very rarely has what he said not come to fruition. And you know what's hilarious? Nobody ever comes back to that, right? I hung out with Blue Blood in New York this past week. Everybody in the space, from Jim Lampley to Radio Raheem, to the trainers, to the fighters, all speak to this man in a personal way. I've seen text message threads from people. I'm not going to bring up their names and tell you what's in his phone. He's probably one of the most tapped in to the boxing space, like in real time, like speaking to Coach Cunningham, speaking to Bozy, speaking to Jim Lampley, speaking to, you know, real execs at Top Rank and at the PBC as well. Like, really one of a few who are truly tapped in that way. And with my eyes, I've seen this. Now, maybe my credibility is on the table right now, right? Why believe me? You know, maybe I've drank the Kool-Aid like a lot of you like to believe, or maybe I'm on a payroll of Bill Haney, or I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Who cares, right? There's something about being in your truth that holds more weight than a bunch of people who don't know your opinion. You know what I'm saying? I'll say it just for saying its sake. I've watched him speak on things that I know he's getting information from real sources he can't put out there, that he's got to protect those sources because of their affiliation and their position in there. In comparison to potentially being wrong or things changing, and those sources giving him a heads up on things that are to come, and things are always truly, in fact, subject to change, right? Because that's how the sport works. But from my experience with him, always being legitimately backed by a tangible source in that space. A lot of the stuff that comes from other platforms does not come from that kind of source. It's 9 out of 10 times BS. I'm telling you, man. I'm watching it. I'm seeing it. There's a rumor going on right now that Tank Davis is in Florida working with Coach Cunningham. I'm telling you, that's not true, right? And I'll it's not. from damn near the horse's mouth. I can tell you this. Why isn't that lie being confronted? When it comes out that it's not true, why isn't that being confronted? Yeah, no, Bradley, you're bugging, my G. You're totally take the air in, take it for what it's worth. Respectfully, got number respect for you. You bugging. You bugging. Most of you are, right? I'm telling you what I understand. Things that I don't even speak on because I don't bother speaking on it because I know y'all bugging and you just can't process or you know, you're not in a space to receive any real truth, so I don't even speak on it. I only chose to speak on this topic right now this morning because of the bird that came and asked me about this particular information as far as Turkey blocking Tank Davis and doing my own due diligence, finding nothing to connect with it. But it is what it is, right? I do work with the man, but I work with the man because he's credible, because he's a true educator in the space.
Let me tap into
what it is, right? But I can say that if anything I'm saying right now, if you want to doubt it, that's up to you. But I'll stand on business and say, I ain't lying not once to you in anything I said. So for you to try to convince yourself that I may be twisting the truth or lying or delusional, to me, I can comfortably say you bugging.
Let me try to clear something up, Clay, please, because I'm glad that was being said. So me and you talk on a regular basis, and you'll give me your sources, right, of what you talked about, things of that nature, prior to you even talking to Blue or whatever, because you'll tell me, yo, I'm about to talk to Blue or whatever, and you'll really only talk to him on certain days of the week. I talk to you almost on a daily basis, and you'll be like, yo, and when I tell you got sources in DMV, you got sources in Las Vegas, you got sources, I talk to your sources, you know what I mean? I got the same information, and they'll tap in. Texas, you know what I mean? I got a source in Texas, right? When I get my source, I'll be like, yo, Clay, check this out. I'll send it to you. But my point is, we have sources as well. But I don't release information unless it's released to me and it's okay to release. And the 9 times out of 10, other people are misinformed, because when Blue says something, I've already heard it from somebody else that ain't got nothing to do with Blue a lot of times. Now, Blue won't put it out there 100% saying like, yo, this and that. He'd be like, it's out there in Rumorville. Big word he uses, Rumorville. But then your people be like, yeah, yo, I heard this, and this guy doing this. Y'all buy that, and y'all fall for that. And y'all watch the little screens that say, you know what I mean, this guy coming to town with Santa Claus sleigh, and y'all fall for it. But yet, when the man is right here telling you, and I've never known Clay to really lie. I actually never lied. There ain't no really. He doesn't lie. The man really stand on his own. A real man, real brother. And for all this nonsense, man, yo, it's like this. Why are you here if you think he lying? I'm being honest. I'm not. Listen, I respect you for joining and being a part of the show. But if you believe this man is a liar, then why are you here? That's my case. And for him you put his credibility on the line like that, that's even crazier. Yeah, like you came here because you said that we was one of the realest shows you ever watched. He goes on Blue Blood's channel and he talks. He fights Blue on stuff sometimes. Like, yo, Blue, I don't even agree with that. And that's when they're talking about boxing outside of sources. They're talking about boxing. But when Blue delivers information, yo, I talk to Blue too. Shit is real. I just don't get in the middle of breaking news. I don't have my show. I'm a co-host. And if I go on somebody's show,
it's never going to be that. It's never going to be breaking news because I'm not going to be that person, right? We value the sources, the connects, and we protect their privacy at all times. You know what I'm saying? But
he don't watch Blue. So how you don't watch Blue?
How you gonna point fingers and say?
Yeah, if you don't watch it now, you sound even stupider. Nah, listen, man, I ain't gonna use that word. I ain't gonna disrespect you, but that just don't make no sense now, man. It's like painting the kettle black, bro. Like, what do you do?
When covering the sport, when covering
man. Let's move forward.
When covering the boxing space, try to do it on a whole entire playing field of
Who
boxing.
blocked you?
But no, he's saying block him then if you don't want him.
Oh no. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, do your thing.
But ultimately at the end of the day, it is funny to me because very rarely are these rumors and narratives coming to fruition. I haven't seen the person who's going to purchase spend $500 million or $5 billion to purchase all these. I see Top Rank negotiating with Amazon. I see Top Rank getting ready to end their deal with ESPN and rumors of them going to the Zone, working with HBO potentially. I don't see, you know what I'm saying, the PBC getting bought for $5 billion. I haven't heard about it. This $500 million deal that Tank Davis was going to be offered, I haven't heard about it. Terrence Crawford being investigated by the feds, I haven't seen it. You know what I'm saying? All these things, right? All these, Turki Alalshikh purposefully buying events. Do you know what goes into making an event? The fighters, the card having to be announced before a venue will lock down an event or lock down a venue for an event. They don't just do it. I can't just go to T-Mobile Arena, give them $100 million and tell them lock down MGM for me. I don't know what I'm going to do in it yet, but I want it on this date. That's not how it works. None of these things have ever come to fruition, right? They don't ever manifest. They don't ever manifest. The venue being moved because Turki Alalshikh went into war with in Houston with that arena in Houston and blocked it. And no, that's not what it was. It was because the fight wasn't ready. That's it. It just wasn't ready. Whether it was the undercard, whether it was Tank Davis's money personally, whether it was Lamont Roach's money, whether it was who knows what it was. It was business being done and business not being completed in the fight was not ready to be delivered as an event. That's it. They moved on, decided to move it to New York, not because they couldn't do it in Houston and Houston did something shady. No, it was because business was being handled. Reaching into the air and turning this into a Turkey's campaign to derail this man's career. It's diabolical because it stands baseless. It stands on baseless information, baseless. And for you guys to jump on it and ride it into the sunset, I knew it. That makes sense. What makes sense about it? What makes sense about it? What do you mean? What makes sense about it? And why? Because Tank Davis is the big star and Turkey needs it. What? He's what are we talking about? What are we talking about? It is what it is, right?
Right.
So yeah, once again, another baseless point that I've had to say. I don't know what y'all talking about. The last time I got confronted with one of these questions was on Terrence Crawford being investigated for PED usage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
with swag. And it turned out to be a big nothing burger. Here we are, 4 or 5 months later, Terrence Crawford getting ready to fight Canelo Alvarez in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And I've never even heard a legitimate, credible source even wonder or question that happen again. So what are we talking about?
Yeah, yo, you know what's really crazy?
What are we talking about? To point fingers at Blue Blood. And yes, I co-host with him, and I know him on a personal level. I talk to him regularly. You know what I'm saying? Like we cool like that. Yeah, bro. I stand on business when I say I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the false. Does he put on an interesting thumbnail to attract attention? You know what I'm saying? Sure, just like everybody else does, right? He can get interesting at times with his thumbnails and say things, right? A lot of it is tongue in cheek. A lot of it is cynical. A lot of it is, you know what I'm saying? A lot of it is tongue in cheek to to get your attention. But that man lying, saying things, nah, I haven't seen it yet.
Crazy.
I haven't seen it yet. Sorry.
But you know what's funny?
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about something. Did you hear that Turkey sabotaged Earl's Lamborghini Ferrari?
No, I ain't hear that. Is that real?
Yeah, that's great. But I'm just saying, this is how far it goes, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like, yeah, and he had Earl in the ring on drugs or something. That's why it hurt his ribs in the ring and sparring. He had all that planned so Bud would win. Yeah. I got a phone call the other day. Like, yo, they out here saying this. I'm like, yeah, bro. Send me the link. Send me the little. I said, yo, that's crazy. It's just why, Clay? Why go through all that effort? Why push all these? See, that's pushing a lie. That's a narrative. That's stating something that's not factual and saying that is real, right? FBI coming in, him, Victor Conti, and what's his name? Daniel Cunningham, all on the same tree. You know what I mean? They all running from the government.
People
but
can
get Turkey. Hold on, they all work together, but Turkey just worked in New York and had bought the city. If he worked with Daniel Cunningham, you think he buying the city? You think he gonna be allowed in the United States?
Who?
But Turkey. Like I'm saying, this is
said Daniel Cunningham.
Yeah, they saying he working with Daniel Cunningham and all that. You think he would be Turki Alalshikh?
No, who's Daniel Cunningham?
You don't know who he is? That's the big money launderer, the Irish mobster. Wanted for all this nonsense, bro. Okay, I guess he had some ties with Tyson Fury at one point. But everybody ties him together with everybody, man. Like, it's just crazy. Anytime somebody go wrong, he's tied in to somebody. Killingham, whatever. Callahan, whatever. I don't care how you say his name. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But it's all alleged, yes. Yeah, I know it's alleged. It's not alleged. They should say it's alleged. I don't say anything because I don't care to put that guy in that situation. He ain't allegedly nothing. He is proven to be chased by the feds and Interpol. It ain't no alleged. They put that on the news. So him being chased and all that situation, I don't care about that dude, bro. That's his problem. Let him keep hiding. But apparently they use Turkey as a source to say that he's washing his money and that's where he's getting all his money from to put into boxing. Bro, Clay, I done heard every single thing. It's romper room.
It is what it is. I mean, truth.
All right, let's go.
I see people. The conversations are getting interesting in the chat, man. But yeah, man, we're gonna stand on the truth. We're gonna talk about this boxing. But yeah, just for whatever it's worth. I ain't heard nothing about Turkey blocking no Tank. I haven't. It's funny. I haven't heard Tank accusing him. I haven't heard PBC people come out accusing him. I haven't heard anything. So I don't know. The inside sources got this one. I don't know nothing about it. That being said, moving forward and back to this boxing talk. You know what I'm saying? Getting on this boxing talk. And as far I'll close out and just to say, when Tank and Lamont Roach get announced, that'll be awesome. Looking forward to hearing from that. I am hearing from sources, you know what I mean, about potential undercards that are getting put together. And in my personal opinion, that's probably what the holdup is. It's probably the building of the card that's the holdup. You know what I mean? Getting the fighters, making sure they're available, passing physicals, negotiating purses, all the things that are all the ingredients that come together into putting together a big Tank pay-per-view card. That's probably going to, you got to think that they're going to be paying Tank top dollar, a lot of money. So they want to make sure when they put the card together that they're going to recoup as much of it as possible, if not being the profit. So putting fighters on the undercard and matchups, these things all take time. I think that's what's holding up the fight being announced. I think the narrative or the picture being painted that the fight and the card is ready to go and that the only reason it's not being announced is because Turkey's blocking it. I think that's far-fetched. I think what's more reasonable and more realistic is the event itself that they're trying to build around Tank is not ready yet. It's still simmering. It's still cooking. It's still got ingredients. There's fights they want to put on the undercard. These things take time. It doesn't have to be Tank. I'll tell you like this. Maybe this will make some of the fans happy. It doesn't have to be Tank don't want to fight Lamont, or Tank is hesitating or feeling nervous, or Tank ain't ready to fight. It don't have to be around Tank. It could literally be around the business of building a fight card, you know what I'm saying, around Tank that's stopping this. I think reaching into the air and making it some sort of like diabolical plot and plan by some outside source, it almost discredits the PBC. When you guys talk that way, it almost makes it sound like you make it sound too easy to derail them as a company who's been here for so long, leading the way, putting on some of the biggest events, having some of the biggest stars in boxing, to make it as simple as they're unable to kick off events because an investor is financially campaigning to stop them from doing it, I think that's a reach. I think that's a hard reach. It is for what it is. It is what it is, right? I do want to tap into the Shakur Stevenson interview. Did you get a chance to catch that interview in the Breakfast Club?
The Breakfast Club. I caught most of it.
Yeah. What'd you think? Salute to Just Do in the building.
Just in time. We talk about your boy.
Yeah. What did you think about the interview?
I thought it was a good. I think you got a lot of answers, and I think a lot of people.
Hey guys, 46 people in the building. Thank you in advance. Please remember to hit that like button. Help the channel get in the right algorithm. I appreciate you, and I thank you in advance. Go ahead, Blue. Go ahead, Ray.
I'm saying I think he answered a lot of questions. I think he's promoting his fight. You know what I mean? I think what he said is 100% true about, you know what I mean? If he's not on that card, do people watch that card? You know what I mean? He should be the main event. It wasn't a shot at Berlanga, and now people are trying to push that narrative as that being a rivalry and him throwing Berlanga under the bus, which that never happened. He even apologized and said, "Look, this is no shot, man. I'm just telling you, like, I'm the guy that did all the history of this boxing. I'm that guy." He also talked. Yes, he did. He talked about the Gervonta Davis situation, the lady from Baltimore, because they changed up some of the characters over there. I haven't watched the show or heard the show in a long time in the morning, but she's talking about Tank gonna beat him up, this and that, and he don't want none. And he was like, "Yeah, okay, where's your guy at?" So, you know what I mean? He respectfully defended himself, put things out there information wise for the boxing sense, and made a lot of sense out of stuff. He's a fighter, y'all. Like, he's supposed to say those things. Regardless he believes it or not, he's supposed to sell the fight. That's his job. He said it himself. And a lot of times I think we look at when people tell the truth or they put things out there that they don't like, the other side of the fan base don't like, this guy's lying, or this guy's a hater, or this guy's, it always becomes the same, almost like we just talked about. It always becomes a rage of war against somebody else. It is what it is, Clay. But it was a great interview. I like I said, for what I seen, I watched the beginning to the midpoint before it ended because I was at work. But yeah, it was good, man. It was dope.
Yeah, Shakur Stevenson did touch on some points I thought was interesting. You know, obviously he's definitely what I pulled away from it is that he's a very confident fighter right now, and he's always been a confident fighter, right? He's always been willing to fight the best, and they spoke on that, right? Somebody, you know, when they talk about resumes and they talk about Shakur Stevenson's, comparing resumes with other fighters and not really acknowledging that Shakur, if it was Shakur's choice in an ideal situation, he would have fought a lot of people who he hasn't fought yet, right? And I think a lot of fighters could share that same, they can relate in that same way, right? Like, if it was up to me, the certain fights I would have been for already, but we know that the business is political at times. The across the street politics that have been here in boxing for a very long time have gotten in the way of a lot of big fights happening. But also, you know, being confident enough to know, and, you know, still pushing for the Tank fight, still saying that, you know, he wants that fight to happen. He thinks that would be a great disservice to the space if Tank were to retire from the sport, you know, fight, like, say, a Jake Paul, and leave the sport and not fight him. He'd be very disappointed in that. All fingers and everything pointing in the direction of still wanting Tank to be a little bit more cooperative, right, in the conversation of them fighting, being more on board, you know, jumping into the willingness stage, or the willingness part of his brain to be like, well, let's open this line of communication, even if it's just between our promoters, towards coordinating this fight happening. And, you know, he's always doubled down and made it clear that that's what's holding up the fight is Tank Davis being in control of his career, being the A-side guy, being the privileged guy in the space to put the offer out, and his inability to actually give Tank anything that's going to make sense, right? Except for, you know, an open line of communication. Turki Alalshikh's obviously here. And what I walked away from it understanding is, look, at the end of the day, money isn't the issue as far as why Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Tank Davis hasn't fought yet, right? It's just not the issue anymore. There's a way for the money to be there. And it was very similar to what a lot of people remember before, and then what people felt like I got cooked over or whatever it was. A lot of it has to do with something personal. Even with Devin Haney, with that fight potentially coming to fruition, the reason it didn't come to fruition not being money, right? There was a way to get to the bag because you had Turki Alalshikh who's willing to finance it. So it's never really been about the money. It's been more about control, maybe personal feelings, you know what I'm saying? Emotional things. I don't like you, right? You didn't talk to me nice. A lot of things outside of the money. And Shakur understanding that and understanding that the money not being an issue means that until Tank is in favor with, or I fall into favor with Tank as far as feelings are concerned, that more than likely this fight might not happen. He's waiting on Tank to be in a position to where he's willing to put the personal feelings to the side and invest into the fight happening just as much as he wants the fight to happen, as much as he. Hoodrich, you said Cap?
Not you. He's talking.
Oh, I'm like, it's something different. Oh, okay, I'm like, is there a different reason why the fight happening? But that being said, also speaking on the future that he'd be willing to fight, go up to 140 to fight the special fights, but he believes he's a 135-pound fighter, right? He says he's truly a 135-pound fighter, and he probably could fight at a low weight class, is what he was saying, which I thought was interesting. But another interesting thing he said in the interview was that he'd be willing to go up to 154 and fight Conor Benn for the right amount of money. He thinks that would be a great fight, that he's willing to actually go up not only to 140, but 147, 154, that he's open to the big fights. He's open to the special fights, right? Very similar to his mentor and big brother, Terrence Crawford, right? Who right now is about to go up in 2 weight classes to fight a face of boxing in Canelo Alvarez. So I thought that was real significant what Shakur said. Also, like you said, speaking on the Edgar Berlanga situation, he actually spoke on Turkey, right? And kept it real. And I actually appreciated, salute Rick. I actually appreciated what he said about Turkey. He kept it real, right? He said that, for the most part, Turkey has great intentions, but reminding everybody that this guy's still new to the game and what we know about the game, and that he may be making mistakes with the matchmaking. And, he said if there was anything, he would just wish that Turkey would look closer at the fighters and look closer at the fights that should be made and the fighters who want to fight. I'm in agreement with him, and I think he is doing that. I think when he makes a move with a Dana White, and he's opening up TKO, and he's cross promote using an Oscar De La Hoya or Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren and trying to put these fights together, or even with the PBC, trying to get their best fights. I think he is reaching out and trying to use all the resources, but I think he's jumped into a game that's very territorial, very, very I don't want to help that guy. I don't want to work with that guy. And I think he has to find a way to work in between all that melee, all that visceral tension that lies in between the promoters. And he's trying to make the best of what he can make it at, right? So from his perspective as a fan of boxing in Saudi Arabia, what does he look at as the people who are the biggest fighters in America? Because that's what he wants to get involved with. He looks at Devin Haney, he looks at Tank Davis, he looks at Shakur Stevenson, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. He's looking at those guys, and maybe at the end of the day, when I heard him speak, it sounded like he wanted Turkey to dig deeper into the American boxing scene and look at the Raymond Fords, look at the O'Shaquie Fosters, look at the Stephen Fultons, look at and I think he is doing it though, right? I'll land my plane and say that time is something that money can't replace, right? Experience is something money can't replace. Like having the experience, having the exposure, having understanding takes time. And I think that patience is a virtue. And I think when it comes to Turkey, his staying power is what gives most people hope in what he's doing in the space, right? Because his ability to make mistakes, to have the ups and downs, but still financially be able to stay in the game at a high level and still put on fights, risking losses, is what gives the boxing space the hope. It gives them the hope that things will develop eventually and make sense eventually, because his intentions are pure as far as boxing is concerned. Right. The fancy name of sport washing It's a real fancy name. It makes it sound sinister, right? That this man would honestly consider boxing or sports as a way to increase and move the GDP in Saudi Arabia in a way to where they don't have to solely depend on oil, and that they would want to revisit their image, you know what I'm saying, that they have in the world, and try to attack that with bringing some entertainment and investing into the entertainment space of the world and using that. That's not some underground diabolical tactic. That's a legitimate, you know what I'm saying? A legitimate way of, I mean, drug dealers, the biggest drug dealers back in the day, the Frank Lucases, the biggest gangsters used to once a year do what? Give out turkeys on Thanksgiving. On Christmas, they'd give out backpacks. And you know what I'm saying? And when beginning of the school year, they give out backpacks. And Christmas, they give out bicycles and things like that. Why? Because they were trying to control the image, you know what I'm saying, that they had. Knowing, you know what I'm saying, knowing the image that they had. Especially, I'm watching The Godfather of Harlem. You watch that show? It's like the Frank Lucas story. It's a series. It has Forrest Whitaker plays Frank Lucas, and they got a bunch of other actors in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like Malcolm X in there. He you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But you see Frank Lucas transitioning from a gangster, a person who has a reputation for killing and selling heroin in the community and doing things that hurt the community. But now he's left the heroin business at this stage in this season. He's left the heroin business and he's trying to change the image. So now he's investing into community centers, and he's trying to, you know, change the image and be like, nah, I recognize something about the way I was moving. I don't want to be known as that anymore. I have children. I have a wife. I have, you know, I had a relationship with Malcolm X. I have a perspective now as to the power that I actually hold, and I want to move in a certain direction with it. So how am I going to do it? This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to approach it with investing in the community in a positive way and not being involved in the negative things anymore. Clearly, he's going to get pushback. He's in rooms now with people who've known about his history. And what are the people in those rooms doing, Ray? They're throwing his history in his face, right? He was just man, we don't want to work with this, and he has to fight that fight. So Turkey has to fight that fight. Saudi Arabia has to fight that fight. It's expected. I don't think any good businessman in their position would not expect this to be thrown in their face, right?
The funniest thing I've seen with that whole situation is, and let's just put this out there, right? Oh, Turkey's not good for boxing. They can't have girls fight out there. They can't do this. They got to have headgear and sweatshirts on. What happened? You know what I mean? Like, he's defied all odds. They are changing the culture, bro. And they're doing it for the betterment of society globally. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Facts, Roscoe.
Yo,
it's a good show though, man.
Nah,
it's a good show.
I know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about. I seen the like, you know how they preview the show and the series and how they talk about it and what it's about. I kind of caught that portion of it. I wanted to watch it, but I just don't watch TV anymore.
Right, but Rod Scott, you're right though. It is. That's what you said is exactly what it is. But it's still a good show, man. It's still a good show. And you know what I'm talking about, you know, is I think a good example for what I'm trying to show as far as Turkey's relationship. But yeah, I don't think the show is good based off of the facts that it's covering. You know, I'm very sure that it's super fictional, and that Bumpy Johnson wasn't, you know, the dude you want to bring home to your mother, right? That you want your daughter to come through the door with on her hip. It is what it is, man. But still a good example though, right? You know, when you've point being, when you've had a history of being a certain way and you want to jump into a space to where people with your history aren't welcome, you might try to revisit your image and start to do the proper things that bring more light to the image. You bring women into the country in a different capacity. You have women boxing. You have people, you have music playing. You're a Muslim country. You're playing music at these events. You know what I'm saying? You're allowing fighters to bring in their own music that may have a cuss word here or there. You're showing that you can be flexible, that look, your personal beliefs, it can be your personal beliefs. Our personal beliefs is our beliefs, but our business can be an even, clean playing field. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Ray, I'm gonna let you hold it down for like 2 minutes. I guess.
No doubt. I mean, absolutely. So, I mean, even when he was touching on Shakur, I mean, I like the whole Eddie Hearn thing. Like he explained Eddie Hearn very well. You know, they have a communication where, you know, he can move with or without Eddie Hearn at any given point. And I think that was key to understand that part of the deal. And other than that, I think we pretty good on that. I mean, Turki himself is just yeah, he did bring Turki Busta Rhyme out there, 2 cents. You're right. But that's what Turki does. Turki shows that he's a culture vulture, right? He understands different cultures. He listens. He's paying attention. Seems that he's very infatuated with the American black culture. Believe it or not, if you listen to some of the things he says and what he listens to in music and things of that nature, because like Clay just mentioned, you know, they're not supposed to listen to music, things like that. But he has a taste for the culture. He has to dial in for the fan base, right? If I'm going to go in, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to bring all this into what do you say? I ain't seen nothing about Bobby Johnson, bro. Calm down. But you want me to pause Clay? I will pause and pause you for saying it too frequent. But anyway, if Turki's yeah, right. If Turki's listening to music, he's doing it for the culture. He's doing it because he has to merge two sides of the world. Actually, his side of the world to the other outside of his world, and he has to merge and bring that together. So by doing so, that's what we get in this current situation where we are season, Ring Magazine, and yeah.
Cardin is diabolical, bro. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird too. I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the way Turki was holding Bud's hand, I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Like he was taking him to school.
Right? I mean, yeah, just kind of like, you know, to me, it was like, I'm be honest with you. When I saw it, I saw like, do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?
Damn,
and I saw him bringing, but you know, let me tell you something, man. The culture clash is diabolical, right? When you look at Bob Marley back in the day, Bob Marley has a scene also the way he's holding the hand of a prime minister and another minister, and there was like a war going on in Jamaica, and he had a very similar energy. So our culture clashes with a lot of things going on around the world because a lot of people around the world, just for example, like the European kiss on the cheek thing, you know, France and stuff like that, men kissing each other on the cheek, and you know what I mean? Like, what? We ain't doing that. Yeah, somebody try to walk up on me and try to kiss my cheek, or you gonna get the hell you doing, bro? But in that culture, this is greetings. This is, you know what I mean? This is normal for them. So there's always that culture. There's always that culture clash. You know what I'm saying? That we got to get kind of used to. And I'm sure even the Terrence comes from this culture. I'm sure he was being very, you know, he was conceding a little bit, allowing his hand to be held. He understood, but at the same time, he had to feel weird getting his hand held that way, especially in the dominant way, right? Like Turki had his hand on the outside. He was definitely being like, you know what I mean? Like he was definitely on the wrong side of the hand holding. You know what I mean? From our point of view in our culture, on the wrong side of it. But you know I'm saying it is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's a culture clash, but in the spirit of good fights happening and legacy and great things happening, hey, bro, sometimes it be like that. You know what I mean? Sometimes you know.
Yeah, he's like, come here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I also think that in that culture, you know what I mean, that means a lot. You know, that's why Turki does a lot of that in a lot of pictures, not only with Terrence, we've been seeing him doing with a lot of people. And I think that represents unity in their culture. You know what I'm saying? Like we're together. Let's show the world that we're together. Pause. Not like that, but that we're together. We're on the same page and we have agreement to work with each other in the spirit of, you know what I mean, making something bigger, making something better. And let the boxing fans find joy and comfort in knowing that we're working together and expect something special to come out of it. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's love. It's love. It's love at the end of the day. And love is always good. You know, some love is a little blasphemous, right? So we got to be careful. Make our decisions. You know what I'm saying? Make our choices. But yo, you were speaking on Shakur Stevenson and the Eddie Hearn thing. And I thought that was an interesting part of the conversation too, Ray. You know, people paint, once again, the narratives get pushed out there, right? You see Shakur move on and potentially move on to another venture and not include Eddie in it, like Devin Haney did repeatedly. You know what I'm saying? And Eddie Hearn has shown historically that he's been the promoter who's willing to step to the side if his presence is getting in the way of something happening or not in the best interest of the fighter. But it doesn't mean that he's not, that the fighter, you know, there's trouble in Candyland. You know what I'm saying? There's trouble as to why what that represents. Like, oh, Shakur's finally seen the light. This guy's a horrible person. No, it's actually something that I think Shakur celebrates about working with Eddie Hearn more than anything, right? The freedom and the flexibility that's there for him for all fighters who are working with Eddie Hearn. It's like, why cut ties with somebody like that who can literally be there and be part of facilitating my promotional needs, but at the same time lets me jump into opportunities where his presence doesn't necessarily fit the deal, right, Ray? Like,
right.
Like,
no, you're right.
100%. Right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, he spoke on a lot of things, put perspective on the whole entire Turki Alalshikh miscommunication. You know what I mean? That he kind of jumped the gun a little bit on that and didn't get all the information. And once again, that's from the boxing space, the American boxing space, who has made these people paranoid, right? And their instinct is to go and respond and, you know what I'm saying, immediately say something, attack back. You know what I mean? They do a lot of assuming. And a lot of these fighters are like PTSD. The boxing space today in America has given these fighters PTSD on how to deal with the media. You know what I'm saying? It's given whatever. Somebody saying something.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just
right. But the boxing space has given a lot of these fighters that PTSD. Right. They've made it to where fighters are paranoid, and when they hear things, they're digging deeper in and they're trying to find the real meaning behind it, because they know there's some kind of nasty hook coming with it. There's a reason why you're doing that. You're hating on me. And I don't think they're wrong. I don't think they're wrong for feeling that way. I think it's, you know, it's hard to live in a hostile environment. You go into the hood, man, and you know, there's shootings going on every day and people threatening your life, and you always got to have something on your hip, and you don't like people you've gotten certain habits. You don't like people standing behind you. You don't like cars following you too long. When you go into a restaurant, you sit with your back against the wall. You don't like to have your back against the door. You got all these different things that you've become accustomed to, creatures of habits, and now you go into an area where that's not necessary to feel that way, but it's easier said than done to shake the energy, right? So somebody's standing behind me and I'm in Beverly Hills in a nice, affluent neighborhood, and I've changed my lifestyle. I might still turn around like, hey, bro, why you got to stand there? And he might look at you like, what the hell would I want to do to you? We neighbors. I live in your neighborhood. Why would I want to do anything to you? He's right to feel that way, but at the same time, yeah, bro, where I'm from, though, that can come with some consequences if I allow that to move that way. You know what I'm saying? So Shakur becoming somebody who's been dealing with so much disrespect in the boxing space, right? From the media, from promoters, from the fans. He's on go. He's on alert. He's on go. So as soon as you say something, he's ready to throw back at you. He's ready to throw shots at you. He's ready to talk about you. He's ready to attack and destroy. He even talked about that a little bit in the whole entire Mace situation, right? That he had to understand the business that the media is in, and that what comes with people of his stature is the trolls, right? It comes with that, and not to take it personal, to know that Mace Mace more than likely has no personal issue with you, but that's not going to stop him from throwing a shot where he sees something that can grab the attention of the audience, whether it's being funny, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's making something viral. He won't miss out on that opportunity, because he's looking at his subscribers go up, and he's looking at his money and his AdSense make more sense, and he's looking at his new house that he's about to buy, his new car that he's about to buy, his kids that he's paying child support on. He's thinking about his bottom line, and that may involve, you know, putting you in the headlines in a way that you don't like, right? So we don't got to react to that, right? Shakur's realizing, you know what I mean? I'm adding so much context to it in speaking on it, but just to come full circle to say that there's a maturity about Shakur Stevenson in the game now.
Yep.
That's what
He's
you're
learning.
Interview, right? There's a maturity and an understanding of certain things, and he's not letting those things bother him as much. And I think that peace of mind, in my opinion, Ray, you let me know, I think that peace of mind comes more so from, we ain't gotta fight no more. You know what I mean? Fish don't buy in the kitchen, something don't burn on the grill. Took a whole lot of in just to get up that hill, right? Now we up in the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? So he's starting to realize I don't got to fight back as much anymore. I'm actually in a good space to where the fights are going to start coming to me. The reward is there. I have a good financier behind me who's willing to support and push my career as long as I'm willing to fight the best, which is all I want to do. I don't got to worry so much about this social media, because the only reason I worried about it so much is because it was hurting my brand, and I faulted it and I credited it with the reason why my market value wasn't where I wanted it to be. But now I have somebody who has enough money to where he feels like my market value is where it needs to be, and I don't have to worry about nobody else. I find that feeling in my marriage.
So,
right? Once I got married and I found my person, I found my woman, I found who I became t-shirt gang. Yeah, I wasn't worried about how I looked so much. I became somebody who became more content. I'm good, bro. I don't got to fight no more. I got my person. You know what I'm saying? I got the wifey who's got my back. You know what I'm saying? The name I need. I got the boxes checked. I can now focus on the actual assignment that God put me here for. And the assignment is bettering myself, raising my children, you know what I'm saying, evolving my brain, evolving myself as a person for the people who benefit off it the most around me. And I don't got to worry. I don't got the paranoia no more that I used to have, where I felt like I was, I'm out here trying to keep my stock in a certain space so I can mess with certain females or be in certain circles or hang out in certain spaces. I don't care no more, because I built my home to where I find all those things right in here. And I think Shakur is in that place right now where he has his space, and now it's just about, if you don't want to fight me, that's your business, bro. I don't care. Another one to come, right?
I think it's bigger than that. I think his response to what it was, I spoke on it before, was to Oscar trying to be disrespectful because he knew what was going on behind the scenes and he tried to expose him. And I think the reaction was what it was. And then I think he came to realize, like, yo, after this conversation or whatever he took place with, like, yo, you know what? I got to stop letting this energy come out of me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still in the streets. I'm moved on. I'm out of that apartment now. Like you just said, right? I'm in the house. I'm in the office now. I'm no longer doing the push on the block, right? You just mentioned the Harlem King of Harlem, right? I'm no longer doing the push on the block. I'm associating with these people. Why am I going back? They just pushed me. You know what I mean? That guy just challenged me, and I went back there. I was supposed to go back there. I was supposed to say, put a smile on my face and say, okay. So what he did is he recouped. He apologized to the public. He let everybody know, like, yo, that ain't me no more. This is where I'm at now. So everything you just touched on actually pushed right back up to that ladder of what we just spoke about, with Shakur moving in the right direction, realizing that he had to leave all the antics behind. Listen, you ain't gonna play with my manhood though. Like, you ain't gonna sit here and test me, but at the same time, I'm not gonna fall for it. You know what I mean? I fell for it before. Tricks are for kids, good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I ain't gonna let you trick me out my spot. I ain't gonna let you trick me out my blessing and trick me out my opportunity by me letting you bait me into something that's not aligned with my future being brighter. I don't need to do that anymore. You know, Shakur's married, damn near married man. He's so, engaged. He has a fiance, beautiful daughter, bro. You know what I mean? Pause, because she looks just like him. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying he's beautiful, but I'm just being honest that his daughter is she's the cutest little thing. You know what I'm saying? And I know when he looks at that and he combines that with the success and where he's at in boxing, he has to be in one of the best spaces in his life right now. Mentally, he seems very content and very happy and very, he's dialed in and he's bought in. He's like, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to fight the fights. I'm making the money. I'm going to make the big fights. And, Gervonta Tank Davis, respectfully, as great of a fighter as you are, I can move past this. I don't need, I'm saying, this chapter in my life is something I would love to fight you. And I think the fans would do a great thing for boxing. And I think it would do a great thing for our legacies. But I no longer have a soul tie with your career anymore for me. And I think that makes a big difference, man. And I think that's a great thing and a great space for him to be in. I'm extra happy to see that he's in that space, man, and that he has a maturity that he's starting to show, man. And I just can't wait. My only thing that I have with Shakur is, man, I hope those hands, I hope God is on them hands and those hands come full circle for you, brother. I really hope. And I pray for those hands to be where they need to be so we can see you compete at the highest level.
I think he pushed it a little too early. You know what I mean? Getting back in the competition. And I think he's fine. This little well-rested period, he's fine. As far as Bradley mentioned in Philly, did you watch Mazuma last night?
No, I don't be up that late.
Oh, that's right. You was off, so but anyway.
I don't be like that, bro.
But in all responses to that, Mazuma was talking about the same thing we was talking about.
Was he
earlier? Yeah, he was talking about the content creation space.
So. I feel horrible that I can't be, but he is just so late. He used to be like 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Yeah, 10 or 11.
But now sometimes you see it's like it past that time. Like, damn, and I might wake up in the middle. Like I might wake up for whatever reason. I'm hot and I want to, turn the AC up, or I'll take the blanket out. I just wake up and I might just grab my phone because I'm a dumbass and look in it. I'll be like, this thing is on. This dude is on.
Yeah. He was dropping some gems last night too, man. He was all about it. He's out there. Ryan Fraser said, "What's up to you? How was New York City?"
Oh, salute. Yo, Ryan, we were talking on Instagram and you were like, yo, am I going to get the credentials and everything like that? Yo, Blue got me the credentials. I was in everywhere, bro. To sum it up, it was a blast, bro. Such a good time. Had so much access, man. It was such a good time. That's why I said I know a lot of people were upset about the event and not being, on television, the fights they wanted to see, but it was a success for me, man. It was a great trip to New York, man. Looking to do another one. Hopefully I can do the Shakur one, the one in New York, with him. Yeah, hopefully I can do that one. The next big trip, though, for a fact, is going to be Vegas. I'm going to be there when Terrence Crawford put them hands on Canelo. You know what I'm saying? Salute to boxing. I'll be there in Vegas for sure. But yeah, man, had a great time, man. What an experience.
Okay.
Yo, Ryan, man, you got to plug me also with Ness in there, man. I see Ryan went up there building. I want to build with you guys, man. I'll be loving those conversations y'all be in. Man,
they got Edwin on the screen.
Edwin up there doing his thing. Edwin, I'm so proud of Edwin, bro. I'm so proud of round one, bro. I'm not fronting, bro. And I knew it was in the stars for him, bro, because he's passionate about the sport the way we are. He is, man. People come in with their own personalities and their own things, and they have to balance it out to work. And Edwin kind of had that thing going where some people were not always on the same page with his presence, but I always knew that dude was. So to see him up there building, and he's being received well up there too, man. Great look, man. Great look for him up there, bro. So happy for him, bro. So happy for him.
Man. You know who next, though? Our boy next.
Our boy?
Yeah. Inevitable D Block, man.
Oh, yeah, bro. He's doing his thing too. Yeah. He doing his thing, man. He got that Geraldo thing going down, bro. He know how to he got that personality. He got that Geraldo thing, bro. He got that going on, bro. And he know how to manage a panel very well. He knows how to manage it and move it in a direction. I love it. Salute Bruce Gas in the building. Salute King. Salute Sonny Augustine. I know I ain't been shouting you guys out. I've been feeling great and just feel like jumping into these boxing conversations and talking about whatever we're talking about. And I kind of been forgetting to do roll calls and scream everybody's name out, but I got nothing but love for all y'all, man. Every single one of y'all, bro. Sure.
Can I ask a question? While we were taking a little quick break in between conversations, what do you think about the 0-3 on the Golden Boy side of the card the other night? They went 0-3.
What are you talking about? The top rank card?
No. No. Golden Boy went 0-3 on Fatal Fury Friday.
I didn't pay attention to it like that. Okay, I see what you're saying. Sonny Augustine, Sonny Augustine. Sorry, Sonny. Arnold Barbosa, Ryan Garcia, and 0-3. Who was the third
Jose
fighter?
Ramirez.
Oh yeah, and Jose Ramirez. Yeah, man. Listen, man. One thing that event did. One thing that event. One thing that Turkey brings to the space that is undeniable is if you're not him, you're going to get exposed. Now, some people look at it and they say, "Look at that, man! Turkey getting American fighters beat." I think that's the funniest hypocritical, one of the most hypocritical, funniest things I've ever heard in my lifetime as a boxing fan, right? Like I don't remember or recall people so openly saying that their fighters just ain't who they are, right? Like the idea that Rolly Romero, and I'll just give a space, right, for it to make sense. The idea that Rolly Romero would be in a fight, accept the fight, lose the fight, and the reason he lost the fight would be that he was set up. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
As if the people who put him in the fight knew he couldn't compete. You know what I'm saying? And they purposely set up to get beat. Man, it's hilarious because it's like you're discrediting the fighter. You're discrediting so much when you bring that argument to the table. It's crazy, right? So, but yeah, one thing about Turki, Ray, is the fights he puts together are competitive, even when you don't know they're going to be competitive. When you wonder and you think like, oh, come on, but then you see how the fight goes, you're like, damn, that was a competitive fight. Turki brings that to the table, man. So how do I feel about Golden Boy going 0-3? Yeah, man, look, it's part of the game, man. Get better.
Here's another narrative to that. That's why salute, Blue. That's why I asked you that, right? Mm-hmm. So being that there was a narrative push that, oh, this is an Oscar funded event, they're supporting Oscar. That's why I brought that up.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And now you just put the nail in the coffin, right? By saying now y'all say that he only do this to American fighters. You know what I mean? Devin Haney was the only black fighter. Rolly even claimed to be black in the interview, right? But then you have Teofimo up there acting a fool, and not to mention all 3 Mexican fighters lost, right?
Yeah.
So all 3 Mexican fighters lost. No disrespect to that. I'm just saying the way they push these narratives, Clay, it all circumvented to countering everybody's push and narrative prior to the fight. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah. And a lot of people are in emotional space. They're not speaking from anything practical or realistic, so it's easy for them to look dumb at the end. If Tank care about money, I bet Turk would pay him more than the PBC. Yeah, it's not about money, Devontae, right? That's what you're saying is true. I believe I'll put context to what you said, and I believe that whatever Tank feels like he wants in a realistic way, not in a way to take advantage of Turki, right? Like, I need $150 million to fight Shakur. Yeah, that's a stupid thing, right? But if he realistically wanted $40 million, let's say, right, to fight Shakur, in comparison to what he's got in the back, I think that could be negotiated very easily with pay-per-view points on the back end. I think those things can happen. And look, maybe they don't happen, right? Maybe Turki rejects it, but I think there's an understanding that it's very realistic for it to happen. So it's not about there's no money in fighting Shakur or in fighting any of the fights that Turki's interested in facilitating for Tank. It's not about money, right? Money's not the issue. The issue is ego. And this kind of ego, which boxing has always had ego, right, Ray? Like every fighter has ego. You look at Bernard Hopkins, to this day, he's got crazy ego. When he gets in front of a mic, in front of audience, he has a hard time remembering he's not the one fighting, right? He's always promoting, always pushing.
You like to go to the bathroom. You like to take dudes to the bathroom, bro.
Who knows, right? Chris Eubanks Sr., ego, right? But a lot of ego in boxing, that's part of the game. But when the ego gets in the way of fights happening, that's when it becomes crazy, right? Like ego was always healthy in boxing when the ego manifested into a fight, right? When the ego turned into, what? You think he could beat me? Get that contract over that dude, bro. Ain't no way that dude's the best. Ain't no way that dude could beat me. Ain't no, what he say? He could be next. He needs to be next, as a matter of fact. No, now the ego is, he said what? Just because he said that, I'm never going to fight him. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. It's
a sassy ego now, right?
Sassy?
The ego is sassy, bro. You know what I'm saying? The ego is extra sassy now, bro. The ego is crazy. He said it the way he said it. I don't like it. And what am I going to do? I'm going to give him a payday and fight him. That in my imagination, that's how they sound when they're talking. I'm going to give him a payday and fight him. I don't think so. Tell him.
Snapping his fingers too.
Tell him he can kick rocks and he'll never get the shot. Now what? Bet you feel stupid now. You know what I'm saying? Now we're dealing with that ego.
You know who ego I liked? Earl Spence.
Right.
Stepped on it. Said, I want that fight. Bring it. I don't care. I did what y'all asked me to do. Now get me that other belt. Get me over there and bring that guy here. Let's make it happen. That's the ego I like.
Yeah.
Bud was like, look, man, I already did that. Respectfully, that's what you want, I'll do it. But respectfully, I already did that. I really don't need to fight. So you want to pay me to come over there.
Right.
Right.
Like I've acknowledged that I'm somewhere else in my career and I have nothing left to prove. So proving it isn't an issue for me. And plus, it's not like Boots was like, yo, you soft, bro. That's why you're not fighting me. Moving the Tio right, the Tio route, which, by the way, I'm being honest with you. I feel like personally, if Jerron did speak that way, which is not part of his character and he shouldn't do it because that's not who he is. But if he did, I think he could have baited Bud into a fight. Yeah. I think if he became aggressive like that, I think that it could have happened. I'm not guaranteeing it, but once again, not part of your character. Don't do what ain't you. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, people like Bud have egos. You know what I mean? And they can be. Tio wasn't going to get it because Tio wasn't even going to be a competitive fight. Most people just looked at that yeah. But I think Jerron could have potentially done that. Been a little bit more. Yeah. Right, Rick. you wildin', bro. Oh man, you wildin'. Anyway, that being said, we only got a little bit of time. I'm about to go catch a movie with the wife, the accountant. So I want to get through these topics real quick here. I want to talk about I definitely want to talk about let's see here. Let me pick something because I got a bunch of stuff and I didn't make no graphics for this stuff. You know what I'm saying? What did you think about Sebastian Fundora dropping the WBO title and not fighting Xander Zayas, right? Choosing to vacate to have a rematch with Tim Tszyu. What do you think about that?
Clay, why play these games? If that was the case, you should have just took the fight with Earl. If you was going to just go all through all that and just drop it, right? You already had it. You had the fights lined up. You had this, and that. You're coming against a young up-and-coming champion, maybe somebody a little taller that has a little bit more spirit to stay in the ring with you. Might not get caught with an elbow, maybe a shoulder, but not an elbow. And you choose to drop the belt? Like, bro, I don't get it. So, to me, Sebastian just looks like, I ain't going to say look like a coward. I don't think it's a cowardice move. I think it's a money move based on the PBC, again, keeping everything on their side of the street. Finding a way to keep their guys right here. You're not working there. You're not doing this. Unless we co-promote it, which we did all last year because we didn't have the backing from Amazon to pump this out. Yeah, we co-promote it. Now we're going to try to use some of that money to recoup over here, and we're going to put y'all on and let y'all do this. And y'all fighting on our sector, and we ain't got to pay those guys because we can get this guy a little bit of money. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And you hit the point that I'm going to hit, right? So I'll just add to it because I think you articulated it, so accurately. I couldn't agree with you more. I think this is another example of that toxic American boxing mentality that is holding this sport back, where in the spirit of the business of a promotional company, Sebastian Fundora is in a position where he's vacating a title in a division that's hot that he could unify. Bakram Murtazaliev communicated he was trying to get the fight with Sebastian Fundora. Literally had the people reaching out to him to make it happen. He could have unified there, or he could have fought Xander Zayas and defended the WBO title and held his title and kept the space open for a unification. He already has spoken. This is another situation right next to the David Benavidez situation with Dimitri Bivol in that WBC title, where the fighter is speaking clearly about their intentions and what they want to do and how they want to move. But the move they make a month or so later completely contradicts what they said. Here is where I am with it. I don't believe it's the fighter doing it. I don't ever believe Sebastian Fundora would choose to vacate his title rather than unify or fight Xander Zayas or unify against a Bakram. I believe he believes in himself and he wants those fights and he would love to become undisputed. I am one of those guys who definitely subscribe to the idea that fighters want to be undisputed, that they love to fight unified fights, that they want to be in competitive fights. I do not believe that these fighters are walking around here ducking as much as their promoters and the companies and the outfits that they work for would have them looking like they're doing. And I think these politics that happen over here has been one of the biggest reasons as to A, fighters not developing the way they should, fighting the fights that they need to fight that force them to get better, and B, gypping the fans of the fights that we need to see, the best fighting the best, and seeing significant fights that have significance in legacy, in titles, in unifications, and have us watching what we want to watch, which is the legacy. Any real fan of boxing is here for the legacy. Because if you're here to count fighters' pockets and negotiate their deals for them and celebrate their wins as far as the money they get, you're a weirdo. Okay? Most boxing fans who are really dialed into this sport are here to watch legacy happen. Any sport, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, boxing, you want the legacy of your team. You want your team to win a ring. You don't watch football just to watch football. You watch it because you want to see them develop. You want to see them get better. You want to see their picks and their plays that they make manifest into victories, that manifest into the playoffs, that manifest into Super Bowls, that manifest into rings, that manifest into legacy. Same thing with boxing. I believe these boxers come in here wanting to do that. But once again, we're watching the politics, the cross the street politics start to kick in, which is what makes me feel like Rolly Romero will not be in a ring with a Jerron Boutenis, will not be in a ring with a Brian Norman Jr., will not be part of getting a real title or unifying or being in those conversations. He'll probably be waiting on the winner between Mario Barrios and Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? And he'll fight somebody. That's probably what they're going to have him waiting on, to fight somebody who wins between that, or who knows what fights they'll put him in. But he'll be inactive until they find something that benefits the company, that makes sense. And that's why it's going to happen for Rolly. That's why Sebastian Fundora had to vacate that WBO title. And he's fighting a rematch with Tim Tszyu, which would have made way more sense when that fight happened, to give him that rematch, even though they'll be both dealing with injuries. But no, you guys are already threatening to vacate belts in order to make the Errol Spence fight. And had Sebastian Fundora looking crazy on that stage, talking about, I'm not vacating no belts. But that report had to let him know, oh, yeah, you are. If the fight that you're chasing is Errol Spence, the WBO has already communicated that they will strip you of that belt. And your promoter has already told the world that that's the next fight happening for you. Oh, you didn't know you was going to lose that belt? You didn't know that everything you came into the sport for was going to be in conflict of interest with the success of the company you're working with? You didn't know that the priority was going to be the company and not your career? Welcome to the big leagues. Welcome to the big leagues. That's what Sebastian Fundora is dealing with right now, vacating that WBO title and going to fight Tim Tszyu, a fight that means nothing to him except for helping the PBC out. So salute to the company men who sacrifice their careers on a regular to help the company be big and don't do anything for their own careers that's significant. Shout out to Tim Tszyu, who's a victim of that, the company man who lost his title fighting a last-minute replacement of Sebastian Fundora and losing his title and getting nothing for it, but putting a ring with an animal called Bakram Murtazaev with a damn rehydration clause that almost took that man's life away from him and left him a shell of himself in that ring to be where he was at. Welcome to the big leagues. David Benavidez, who had an opportunity to become an undisputed light heavyweight champion. Who knows? The stars may still align for him. It might work out for him, but at the end of the day, there was a road to undisputed. There was a road to the fight, but it didn't fall in line with what Mauricio Suleiman wanted to happen, right? So what he got to do, he had to take a belt now and build animosity that may result in him not getting a fight against Dmitry Bivol or the winner between Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev to become an undisputed champion. Shout out to the politics of the game getting in the way of these guys, you know what I'm saying, getting where they need to get. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to those guys, man. You know what I mean? And that's what we're witnessing happening. What do you think about Keith Thurman versus Jermell Charlo? Potentially, as a fight. What do you think about that?
Crazy. I'm about to put on my hold on. I'm gonna have to put on my Teddy Atlas hat. Right. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's out of his league. I think, being that they've both been out for so long, Jermell Charlo is just so much of a stronger, more balanced fighter than Keith Thurman is, even though Keith Thurman has a lot of quickness and things of that nature. He's too small for Charlo. They're ridiculously putting this guy in the ring to satisfy who? Not the fans, not anybody that wants to see this fight. This is a fight that, if it should have happened 10 years ago, if not 5. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? What's the game plan here? Again, it sounds like it's being greedy. Let's keep all the eggs in one basket. Let's not allow these guys to branch off and make money or do anything or see the light of anything outside of this window. We're going to paint and shut all the windows. We're going to keep everybody in-house. Again, build what we have in our stable and make everybody that's a champion fight another champion or a former champion to build up their careers. This makes no sense, Clay, at all. I mean, you already had these guys calling each other out, Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman. So you take them guys off their railroad or their crossways to put them in other fights opposite of with each other. Yes, Tim Tszyu deserves a rematch, but shouldn't that rematch have been immediate? Why is it happening 3 fights later or 2 fights later? Why wasn't it immediate? Why is it 2 years away from when it originally happened? Right? And the other case is with Charlo's getting a welcome back with Keith Thurman, who just beat up a 140-pounder that just put on muscle and protein powder. Seriously? And we think Keith Thurman is ready? Keith Thurman is susceptible to the biggest body shot, the weakest body shot, in boxing today. But yet, Keith Thurman is going to get in the ring with a guy who not only is 6 foot tall, not only has a reach advantage, not only can sit there and box a boxer that moves in a ring because he has fought in guys like that before, but yet he can attack the body with a single shot and probably brutally hurt, if not demolish, Keith Thurman. Talk about knock his toupee off? Maybe. Bro, what are we doing here? Again.
Yeah, I'll add to that and say that it's politics. It's another exposing of the boxing space, right? About the politics that, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna straight up say it. The PBC needs to either find that deal that makes sense, but you guys have to invest in the sport in a more positive way. This style of pushing these fighters is Tim Tszyu should be fighting Keith Thurman. Jermell Charlo should be fighting a significant fight at 154. If you want to give him a tune-up, give him a Jesus Ramos, line him up with Erickson Lubin for a rematch, find something with a story behind it. I don't know what it is, right? But Tim Tszyu should be fighting Keith Thurman. That makes sense because Tim Tszyu's on his way of coming back from a crazy loss. He just had a victory, and he wants to ride that momentum, and you want to see if he can be a star again and get him in a title shot. Put him where he was at in the beginning. That was a fight that built up the story. Keith Thurman knocked somebody out in Australia. They built the story there. The fight is there. That's where it should be.
Yep.
Jermell Charlo should be considering fighting something significant because he is the uncrowned king at this point of the division, being that he was undisputed at division and had each one of his belts ripped away from him because of lack of activity and him walking away from the sport or fighting Canelo Alvarez, right? Doing that big weight, going all the way up in weight. And I think in many ways he did the right thing by taking his time and cutting weight and coming down naturally and building himself back in position to be king at 154. But the reality is the opportunities at 154 are slim to none underneath the PBC banner, right? There's only a few people. There's Jesus Ramos. Who else? There's I mean, I'd have to think about it, but the big fights aren't fighters, you know what I'm saying? That, you know, he could fight Stanionis maybe, you know what I'm saying? But no, Stanionis is 147. What am I talking about, right? But at the end of the day, at 154, they probably have to cross promote in order to get him in a fight of some significance, and they're avoiding that, and they're trying to do that in-house nonsense again. That's what's happening.
Yep.
It's the same thing that's happening with them. It's the same thing that's happening with Sebastian Fundora. It's the same thing that happened with David Benavidez, you know what I'm saying, and his opportunity to go to Riyadh and fight Caleb Smith, get a big bag, and then probably win that fight and get the winner of Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. But instead, they'd rather take an email belt, allow that to happen. Well, actually, I'm not going to put down the PBC. That was really Mauricio Suleiman. you know what I'm saying, who got in the way of that. But it is what it is, right?
Right.
So yeah, man, I think it's diabolical, and I think it's getting old, and I don't think this business model, for the love of everything, boxing is sustainable. It's not sustainable at this point, man. You have to get out of that. And I'm telling you, it's becoming harder and harder for me to believe that Al Heyman is doing this. It's making it more and more clear to me that Al Heyman is not involved in the business. I know he's a man of evolution. He's a man of, being with the times, bro. And I just don't believe he's co-signing a lot of this shit going on, bro. I don't believe it.
Yo, you know what's crazy? Before we get to that super chat, let me just say, what's really diabolical about this, Clay, is that all this talk about Top Rank joining the Amazon network, it's going to be a lot of collaborations. Yeah. Now, one collaboration, maybe we'll get, and it may be a Turkey card or Top Rank card, we'll get Stephen Fulton versus Shockey Foster. Maybe. Because we already know that a lot of this ain't going to transpire. So, crazy work right there.
It is what it is, guys. About that time, man. I got to go. I got to meet up with my wife halfway. We're gonna spend some QT. Guys, check me out later on Blue Blood. I think we have a special guest coming. I'm not going to announce the name just in case they don't show up, but I think this guest will be there. It'll be a good show today. Good relevant show today. We'll be talking about some real cool stuff. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please don't let that go by and not do that. It's very important. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the your bell icon so you're getting alerts when we're popping out on these lives. Hit the likes before you leave. Let's make sure the likes represent the people that was actually here in the building today. I appreciate you guys, man. You guys are the ish. Let me go ahead and go through these super chats real quick. Boxing Hacker says Tank is ducking Shakur. That's it. That's all. Salute. Yeah, man. I'm listen, man. I think what Boxing Hacker is saying right here is true. I don't know about ducking. The word ducking for me is a sensitive word, but because I affiliate ducking with fear and things of that nature, and I'm not all on board with these fighters being so scared of each other so much. But I know that the fight between Shakur and Tank is not happening because Tank doesn't want it to happen yet. I believe that. You guys can believe what you want to believe. That's where I'm at with it. Shout out to Dragonfly Jones with the $5 holla. I appreciate the support, King. Thank you. He says, the fighters I have the most respect for hold legacy in high regard, not just a prize. 100% Dragonfly makes sense to me. Why not? As a boxing fan, what in the world could I ever get? What kind of reward, what kind of sense of satisfaction could I ever get celebrating a fighter's payday, bro? What in the world are we doing here today? If you're not here for the legacy of a fighter, you're not here for the legacy of the sport, then in reality, I think it's a fair argument to say that you're not here for the sport. You're here for other reasons. To the content creators who get paid pushing these narratives that don't move the sport forward, I understand making money is ideal. You're doing better than me. Most of you have more subscribers than me. You got more people in your chats than me. I get it. Who am I to speak on it, right? At the end of the day, I pray that at some point the boxing space becomes the American boxing space becomes a priority. Rick James King, how you doing, fam?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. I'm waiting for this dude to hit the link with me. That's all I'm up here for. What's up with this dude? Tell him to hit the link. Fuck all that typing in the chat. Hit the link, dude. Let's talk. I don't know what the fuck his problem is, Ray, Clay. I don't get it. Hit the link. If you ain't gonna hit the link, don't type my name no more. So I'm waiting. Hit the link.
Okay, it's not gonna happen today. I got a movie to catch. Yeah, we'll do it another time.
He ain't gonna hit the link.
All right, cool.
Outside of that, you good though? Okay.
Oh, he dropped. Yeah, yo, hey, that's how you do it, Clay.
Yeah, it is what it is.
That's a real debate right there.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So as far as Tank and Shakur is concerned, if you boxing fans of Tank and or whatever have you really want to see that fight, then the pressure needs to go in the DMs and into the Twitter space, into the social media of Tank Davis. He's the one who controls it. Tom Brown has communicated already that he's waiting on the word for Tank to put out the offers and make things happen. Tank has earned the right to oh man, Tank has earned the right, you know what I'm saying? To steer his own career, and it's on him. Shakur knows it. Most people in the boxing space know it across the board. It's pretty much understood who Tank is, the weight that he has, and what he brings to the space. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to see that fight, it's on Tank. Bubs, what's good,
my nigga? What's good, my nigga? Let's get it popping, nigga. What's up?
Clay,
all right.
you
Next
Clay,
time.
You go ahead.
Next time.
Hold on. Bub, hold on.
Hey, you just heard this dude call me out.
Okay, he's gonna come back. Hold on, Bub, Clay. If you want to go, just keep it on your keep it going. Drop it on your phone or whatever.
No, I don't even want that on the channel, bro. That's not what we're doing.
All right.
They're gonna figure that out. There's other channels where they can go and figure that out at. Bub, salute to you, family. I'm glad to find
but I'm just saying, bro. You heard him call me out though.
Y'all talk.
I was in the chat being respectful. You know what I'm saying? You know, hey, I was just calling him out for something he said on another panel. You know what I'm saying? I was calling him out for that. He the one jumped up here with all that rah-rah, bro. You know I'm with that, bro.
It is what it is.
With all of that, bro. So you know what I'm saying? Hey, look, if you're gonna call me out respectful, bro, because you're gonna get the same energy, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna get the same energy you bring, bro. I'm with all that, you know what I'm saying? So come at me like a gentleman, I come at you like a gentleman. You know what I'm saying?
Salute, man. All right, we good, man. I see he popped up. We're not doing. I gotta go. I got a 145 to
all
catch.
right, man. Hey, have a good day. I'll see you later, bro.
Salute, man. Yeah, man. It is what it is, man. They'll figure it out. It is what it is. Yeah. This ain't the platform for it though. But boxing is great. Let's push it. I gotta go. Ray, make it quick because I'm out the door.
Yeah, man. Go ahead and do your thing, man. Enjoy the movie. I gotta get some stuff ready. Kids got a game today. I gotta go coach. You know what I mean? Gotta get this victory. So, you know what I mean, on that notion. And I had a great birthday yesterday because I got to sleep. Don't bother me. That was my gift. So
no doubt, man. Salute to everybody in the building, man. Yeah, man. It's your boy Claymore Rain. It's Ray Davis at ATP Combat Media Show. Y'all know how we carry it, but at this point, we out.
Yeah.
They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight.